What is up, you guys? My name is Shaelyn and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And happy Tuesday. I know this is extremely out of the ordinary for me to be posting a video on a Tuesday, but if you watched to the end of last week's video, which I hope you did because it was a really hyped up story of mine, I really wanted to get my stroke story video out on World Stroke Day, which was on Friday, October 29th. So if you watched to the end of that, then you would know that I was posting part 2 today, which obviously Friday's video was just the night of my stroke story. But today's video is going to be like my in-hospital experience and things like that. Honestly, I'm just going to be telling you guys a bunch of kind of short, funny, and awful stories of the experiences that I had while I was in the hospital with my stroke, or in the hospital for my stroke, sorry. I have a list of a handful of different stories that I'm going to be telling you because honestly, I would not remember them if I was just going off the top of my head, so I need little key reminders. Let's jump into the video. So, starting off with a banger. Quite a few of these are actually going to be kind of embarrassing for me, so be on the lookout for that. But we're starting off with one that is definitely one of the more embarrassing stories. So I left off my part 1 of my stroke story with getting diagnosed the night that I had my stroke, or I guess the morning after, because it took so long to diagnose me. By the way, I didn't say this in last week's video, but I was stroking for I think 10 hours before I was diagnosed, just to give you an idea of the suffering that I had to go through before receiving any kind of actual medical help or attention of any kind. So, following my diagnosis, I was admitted into a room in the emergency department because they didn't have a room ready for me that morning. So I had to stay in the emergency department for, I think, a day or two. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. But following my diagnosis, the only treatment that they could give me was what I've heard to be described as a horse pill of aspirin. I'm not 100% sure. I can't really find a photo of what a horse pill of aspirin would be, but I'm assuming it's a very large dose or pill of aspirin. Basically, I think maybe to just thin out my blood, which is what aspirin does because I was having a stroke and I had clots in my brain. So probably just to alleviate the symptoms that I was experiencing. So in order to give me a horse pill of aspirin, they couldn't give it to me orally, no. Oh God, I'm so embarrassed. Basically, because I had paralysis of my entire left side of my body, including my face, my arm, probably my stomach, and my leg, and my foot, and my hand. Basically, they did not know whether or not I could swallow effectively, or if I had paralysis in my throat that would affect swallowing a pill. So, how did they give me this horse pill of aspirin? Yeah, they stuck it up my butt. Oh my God. They gave me a suppository of aspirin, which I don't know about you, but all I can say about that is outdoor only. Not too thrilled to have something going the wrong way up my butt. So anyway, I was scarred by that. I do remember, I think I took a Snapchat video and sent it to my boyfriend at the time. And I think my best friend Sabrina and maybe my sister or something, I'm not 100% sure, but I took a Snapchat story when they were taking it and I was like, ah! I started screaming because, ow. But anyway, I kept saying, because I had a whole bunch of family that came to visit me when I was finally admitted into the emergency department, and for some reason I felt compelled to tell them about my experience with the suppository of aspirin. And what I was describing it as was they Seth Rogen'd me. Because if you know the movie called The Interview, in the movie The Interview with Seth Rogen and James Franco, Seth Rogen has to stick this this massive like capsule thing in his butt to hide it from some people. I forget. It's a really funny movie. I highly suggest watching it. I think it's hilarious, but I think I had just recently seen that movie, so I had it fresh on the brain, and that was the first thing I thought of when I got something stuck up my butt. So anyway, I was telling people, specifically my uncle, my godfather, I was telling him, he was just like literally cracking up laughing at me because I was also saying a bunch of jokes, because I guess pain medication brings out some kind of like comedy person out of me, but they had given me, I think, an IV of morphine because I was in so much pain with my massive migraine that I had. So yeah, they gave me morphine, and that was when I started cracking out all the jokes. And I think, yeah, my uncle was like, so how are you feeling, Shay? And I think I was like, oh, Uncle, I'm feeling great. I had a bunch of morphine and I like it, or something like really silly and stupid. But and then I ended up, that's where I was going with this. I told him, I was like, and they Seth Rogen'd me. They stuck aspirin up my butt. I was literally telling anybody and everybody that I saw. I don't know. I was obviously quite high off painkillers, but yep. So, oh, and also with my silly side, I think I remember one of the jokes that I had said was, my sister was asking me because I didn't have my glasses with me. I think I had left them at my ex's house or something like that. She asked me, she was standing like at the other side of the room, like like at the foot of my bed, and she was like, Shay, can you see how many fingers I'm holding up? And I was like, no, but I can see that you have a massive zit on your forehead or something like that. Yeah, just that wasn't very nice of me, obviously, but it was true. She had a zit like right here on her forehead. I don't know, I thought it would be funny to point that out, and she was like, oh. But anyway, at this point I had been admitted to a floor in the hospital, so I had like a semi-private room. I had one roommate in the room with me. But at this point in time, my mom just reminded me. She said it was about 3 or 4 days after my stroke. I had not used the bathroom yet, if that tells you anything. Not like to pee or anything like that, but I had not done number 2 in about 3 or 4 days because I think I was like just kind of backed up from like the painkillers and probably the stress, the environment and whatnot. So all of a sudden, day 3 or 4, I honestly don't know what day it was, but all of a sudden decided it's time to go, and they had put like an adult diaper on me just in case I lost control of going down there. So that was like a just in case kind of thing in my mind. So when I had said that I have to use the toilet and I have to go number 2, all my family and everything were like, oh, use the diaper that you have on. And I was like, nope, not doing that. I'm definitely not going to like embarrass myself and poop in front of all you guys and make it smell and have a freaking poop on my butt in a diaper like a baby. I'm not gonna do that. I was 17 years old and I was not about to start doing that. That wasn't going to happen. So anyway, my mom had ran and gotten a nurse, and unfortunately they were like in a hurry or something like this. This was inconvenient for them and they didn't really have time to take me to the bathroom, but they were gonna do it anyway. So what they did was didn't really think twice to make sure that I was seated in the wheelchair nicely or anything like that. Keep in mind, I was completely paralyzed on the left side. Could not really feel, still can't feel, but couldn't feel back then either. I didn't have the ability to help myself sit up straight or really sit in a chair yet. I had not really sat in a chair, I don't think at all yet since my stroke. No, this was my first time actually sitting in a chair. And they didn't really care to make sure that I was positioned properly or anything like that. So what do? They start wheeling me to the bathroom, and my foot is still on the floor. It's not on the foot pedal of the wheelchair. And they ran over my paralyzed foot. And although I say that I can't feel like sensation, that hurt like a... So I started crying, obviously, because I was super sensitive at that moment in time. And then they realized what they had did and fixed my foot, made sure it was intact and whatnot, and then brought me to the bathroom and proceeded to take down my pants and put me on the toilet. So because I was so dependent and unable to help myself sitting up and things like that, I had to have a nurse hold me up while I was on the toilet having to poop. And as you can imagine, that's not the best thing. I had never pooped in front of anybody before, obviously besides my mom, probably. So this was like really embarrassing for me, and I kept apologizing because before I was pooping, I was farting, and I kept going, I'm really sorry, this is really embarrassing. It was just really dehumanizing. That's how I was describing it. I felt like I was a creature. I didn't feel like I was human at that point because somebody was literally watching me in a very vulnerable state, and I did not feel comfortable one bit. She wasn't really helping because she was in a rush, so she was like kind of like being like, yeah, just hurry up, whatever. And then yeah, that's the end of that story. But regardless, my foot was rolled over because I refused to poop in a diaper, and it hurt like hell. Same hospital I went to 2 different hospitals during like my in-hospital experience for my stroke. So this is still at the first hospital. I believe that this was my first like physio appointment. They had like inpatient physiotherapy for the patients to go to that required physiotherapy. So it was my first one. I was super excited, whatever. And my nurse came in, super pregnant, and she was like checking some boxes, making sure that I was ready to go. So I'm not sure why she assumed that I had any body mobility or control, considering my chart probably said that I was completely dependent, not able to walk or sit up or pretty much do anything for myself. But regardless, she sat me up on the side of the bed, which by sitting me up, she would assume and notice that I was floppy and like a rag doll essentially and unable to hold myself up. But anyway, she sat me up on the side of the bed, and I was sitting on the side of the bed looking down at her because she squatted down in front of me, and then proceeded to yank on the socks that I had on, which were just like normal, I think probably ankle socks. Started yanking on them, which then started throwing me off balance, and I was like, uh-oh, I think I'm gonna go down. And I didn't really know like how to speak up for myself at that time because I thought the nurse knew what she was doing. But anyway, I was sitting on the side of the bed, and all of a sudden, while she was yanking on my feet and I started to lose balance, I fell to my left side and whacked the side of my head off of the bed rail. Mind you, this was literally like probably 4 or 5 days after I had a stroke, so my head is quite tender. I suffered an awful migraine. I was on painkillers pretty often to try and relieve my pain, and now I just whacked the side of my head off of a bed rail. And when I tell you that triggered the most explosive migraine since my stroke, like It was pretty equivalent to the same headache or migraine that I had the night of my stroke. I instantly started bawling my eyes out, and it was just like all hell broke loose. I was just in the worst state, not ready to go to physio whatsoever anymore. I was super excited to go, and then all of a sudden, boom, not ready to go anymore because I'm bawling my eyes out, I'm in pain, and I'm not ready to put myself in more pain by doing physiotherapy. Basically, she was like, oh, it's okay. And she put on the non-slip socks on me, which is what she was trying to do by taking off my ankle socks. Put me in the wheelchair, wheeled me into the physiotherapy room while I was bawling my eyes out. And my sweet angel of a physiotherapist, I actually knew her through people. Kind of felt like a friendly family kind of connection. So we got along really well. I really liked that physiotherapist. She immediately was like, oh my goodness, Shaelyn, like, are you okay? What's going on? What happened? Tell me what happened. And the nurse piped up and told her side of the story, that I fell over in bed and whacked my head off the bed rail, and she was like, okay, can we get her some Tylenol? Like, can we help the situation? So thank God the nurse went and got me some Tylenol, and it eventually, after like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, helped, thank God, because I was not gonna survive through my physio appointment without that. But regardless, my physiotherapist understood that I was in a lot of pain and my focus was completely shifted, and I would not have been in the right mindset to do a full first physio session that day. So she sent me back to my room and told me we would pick up tomorrow and try again. So that's what we ended up doing. Thank God this time I already had the non-slip socks on when my nurse came to bring me to the physio room, and that wasn't going to be an issue. She wouldn't let me whack my head off the freaking bed rail this time and it wouldn't hurt. But anyway, I had a doctor from the next hospital that I was going to come to the hospital that I was at to personally speak to me about a medical trial that they were trying to do, and they were interested in having me take part in. She came to talk to me about that, and yeah, it was just kind of cool that a doctor from the next hospital that I was going to specifically came to talk to me to be in this medical trial that was super exciting and innovative and whatnot. I'm gonna make a separate video on this, but essentially the trial was for this physio device called Mind Move, and I have a whole story about my experience with that, and I'll probably make a separate video sometime in the future about that. Probably not anytime soon, but I will do that. And if you guys want it sooner, let me know. But I have my experience with that device and I'm willing to share it. So at least in my province, we have government health care for anybody in the province who has a health card. So obviously that's what I had, and that only gives you so much. So I was in a semi-private room with one other roommate, but then the coverage ran out and I was forced to move into a ward, which is a room with 4 different patients in the room. So me and 3 other people. Unfortunately, the 3 roommates that I did have were all kind of psychological patients, I guess is how I should describe them. I had quite the experience then with that. Luckily, it was only for 2 days because I barely slept while I was in that ward. Some of the ladies in there, they would just go nuts at all hours of the night. They would get up and start walking around and try to leave, and one of them would scream help or nurse every 5 minutes, and there was just no getting any sleep then. Luckily, I wasn't doing it alone. The hospital was nice enough to allow my family members to stay with me. We kind of just shared the hospital bed, which it wasn't the most roomy because the hospital beds are really just for one person, but luckily I was a pretty petite girl, so I could spare the room to have my mom or my sister stay with me. Yeah, that was the end of that hospital, thank God. Before I moved to the second hospital, it was Thanksgiving in Canada, which I think it's late October is or mid-October or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but sometime in October, I'm pretty sure Thanksgiving is. And my mom was getting so worried because since I had vomited so much the night of my stroke, I was just convinced that I was always hungry, and like any kind of food that would present itself to me, I devoured. Literally, like without even thinking twice, I was shoveling food into my mouth if it was in front of me. So my mom was getting worried because Thanksgiving Day, the hospital provided like a Thanksgiving dinner lunch for all the patients, which was great. It was just like some basic, like, I think turkey, mashed potatoes, and I think like a slice of pie and maybe some veggie or something like that. And I ate the whole thing, cleaned the plate, nothing was left. Then before like actual dinner time, my nonna, which is my Italian grandmother, she made me her own Thanksgiving dinner, which was turkey, mashed potatoes, just Thanksgiving dinner, everything that you can expect at a Thanksgiving dinner. And then my mom's side of the family all decided to surprise me and have our big family Thanksgiving dinner at the hospital in like one of the like family get-together kind of hangout rooms. So on Thanksgiving that year, I had not one, not two, but 3 Thanksgiving dinners all in like a matter of like hours from each other. And that's when my mom realized, oh my goodness, Shaelyn is going to gain a lot of weight. She can't even stand up and walk with her own body weight right now, which I think I was like 120 pounds at the time. She wasn't wrong. I think in total, my entire hospital experience, I ended up gaining a total of like 10 pounds, 10, 15 pounds or something like that. Obviously, I ended up losing it again, thank God, because I was looking a little bit thicker. Wasn't myself really, so. And then I moved on to the second hospital, which I was super excited to be moving to this new hospital because it was like a rehabilitation hospital. It was mainly focused on like physical rehabilitation and things like that. It was really nice because I had like appointments all day, every day. I had speech therapy, which I didn't really need so much, but it was more like cognitive activities to keep like my brain thinking and challenging itself and things like that, and just to kind of like analyze how severe the damage was for me. And then I had occupational therapy and physiotherapy, which are like, occupational therapy is more so like hands-on things, like teaching you how to use your hands and like tactile things, like, and also teaching you like practical movements, like everyday things, like how to brush your teeth, how to dress yourself, things like that. Relearning how to do that either with or without a limb that is paralyzed, things like that. And then obviously physiotherapy is working on moving your affected parts of your body. And so yeah, I was really excited to go to this hospital because I was so focused on recovery and I was ready to hit the ground running and just recover, you know, because it's all I had hope to do. Eventually, the nurses at this second hospital decided to have a talk with my mom and my sister because they were like switching off staying with me pretty much every other night. They decided to have a talk with them and inform them that they felt that it was crucial for my like relearning my independence, that they don't stay there with me anymore. And this was pretty heartbreaking to me because it was nice to be able to have like a family member there to help me feel more comfortable during the night and have the convenience of having somebody to take me to the bathroom during the night, because I had to usually go to the bathroom around 2 times during the night every night for some reason. I wasn't normally like that before my stroke, but for some reason in the hospital I was. They stopped letting my family stay with me, and that was like an emotional roller coaster in itself. But anyway, because they didn't let my family stay with me anymore, I had to now start ringing my call bell every time that I had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. And unfortunately, the nurses aren't always available to take you to the bathroom. And at this time, I was still just in a wheelchair. I didn't have like a cane or anything to walk because I hadn't relearned how to walk yet, so there was no reason for me to have a cane. But anyway, I decided one night, because I rang my call bell and I think somebody answered within around 5 to 10 minutes. They answered my call bell and they asked me what I needed, and I said I really need to go to the bathroom, and they said okay, somebody will be on the way shortly. I'm not kidding you, 30 minutes went by and I was like wiggling because I had to pee so bad at that point. It was like just getting out of control. And so I decided, all right, I can't wait any longer. I need to go to the bathroom now, or I'm going to pee all over my bed and they're gonna have to clean it up, and I don't want to sleep in pee drenched bed sheets. So I decided to try and get up out of bed. Mind you, I had not even touched learning how to walk yet at all. I had some exercises training me how to stand up and bear weight on both legs at the same time, but unfortunately I would always fall to my left side and my physiotherapist would have to catch me and put me back up or sit me down. So I was nowhere near even being able to walk at all yet. So I don't know where I thought that I could do this, but anyway, I decided to stand myself up on the side of my bed, holding onto my bed with my right arm, because my left arm obviously is not functional, never was after my stroke. So I was standing there holding the side of my bed, and I slowly kind of stood up straight, holding the side of my bed. I'm so shocked that I was even able to do this, but I think I was mainly standing on my right foot, and being a dancer prior to my stroke, I had great balance on standing on one foot at a time. So I was able to just stand on my right foot, and then I would quickly like slide over, and I kind of gradually made myself to the end of my bed, and close to the end of my bed was the bathroom door. There was like handles on the door. So, and I was just kind of like thinking in my mind how I was going to manage going from sliding along the edge of my bed from the bottom of my bed, making it to that door handle. And I was just determined that I was just going to basically throw my body at it, hope that I catch my balance, and grab that door handle. So that's what I did. By some grace of God, managed to slide my foot and reach and grab that door handle really fast, I'm pretty sure. Don't really remember how I managed to do this, but anyway, somehow managed to open the door. This was all with all the lights off, by the way, because I didn't want to wake up my roommate that I had in that hospital. She was a blind woman, she had glaucoma, but she was the sweetest thing, and I didn't want to wake her up. So I made my way into the bathroom. I pulled open the handle and I kind of like wobbled my way to the wall, and I held onto the wall as I scooted my paralyzed foot along while I was walking kind of with my right foot, and somehow made my way to the toilet, got to go to the bathroom. Ended up doing the same route that I did on the way back, except this time when I got to the point where I had to sit in my bed, I was facing the bed, and I was like, okay, how am I gonna get back in bed? I have to like turn around and get my butt facing the bed so I can sit down and then like get my legs up into bed. So, I was able to actually turn because I just kind of like moved my body around by pushing my hand on the bed. I sat on the bed, got my right leg up, but my left leg was hanging off the side of the bed, because obviously your limbs are extremely heavy and you can't exactly easily grab it and pull it up. When the same side of your body is paralyzed, it's hard to get the balance and bring it up. Anywho, I have had this injury, I believe it's from dance, but my knee, I think I talked about this in one of my other videos, but my knee will pop out of the socket. My tibia, the head of my tibia will pop out the side of my knee, and you can literally see it on the side of my knee popped out that way. So that being said, I tried to get my leg into the bed, but I was unable to, and I ended up falling on the ground next to my bed, my butt on the ground. Thank God I didn't hit my head or anything like that, but unfortunately my knee popped out of the socket, which was awful timing. And at this point, my poor little blind old woman roommate, I think she was like 92 years old, poor thing. She was so sweet. I love to this day. All of a sudden I hear her little voice go, "Shaelyn, are you okay?" And I was like, yeah, don't worry, I'm okay. Good night. And she was like, "Oh, okay." And then maybe went to sleep. I'm not sure. But at that point I was like, shit, she woke up. I'm gonna have to try and be really quiet even though I'm in a lot of pain. I knew that I had to kick my leg out like that to get my my bone back in my knee, because that's how I usually popped it back in the socket anyway. So I managed. I'm not sure if it took me 10 minutes, I'm not sure if it took me 20 minutes, but I ended up conjuring up the will and the courage to kick my leg out and get my bone back in my knee, because that's what I needed to try and stand up, because I couldn't stand on a knee that was popped out of the socket. So anyway, managed to get the bone back in the knee. But now my next challenge was to pull myself up from a basically laying or seated position on the ground up on a bed that's kind of high up. So yeah, long story short, not really, I just told the whole story, but I basically managed somehow, and still nobody came to take me to the bathroom. So within that long period of time that I managed to get myself barely to the bathroom by myself, fell and got into bed, nobody came to help me go to the bathroom. So I would have literally peed my pants at that point. So that being said, I fell 2 more times doing this, not during the night. That one was at like 3 o'clock in the morning, but one time during the day, I really had to go to the bathroom and nobody was coming to my room to help me get to the bathroom to pee, and I really had to go. So I was waiting and waiting, and I ended up doing the same thing. I was like, you know what? I have to go to the bathroom and nobody's gonna help me. And before you say that I could have tried to walk with my commode or my wheelchair, I didn't want to wake up my neighbor because she would have tried to call with her call bell. So I decided, no, I'm not gonna try and wake her up by wheeling my commode or using my wheelchair, because my wheelchair made some noise when the wheels were turning on the ground. So at this point, I think I didn't have a neighbor in my room, so I didn't have to worry about being loud, and it was during the day. Or maybe my roommate was out like at physiotherapy or something like that. But yeah, I ended up falling on the bathroom floor and hitting my head off the floor. And then, yeah, I had to figure out how to get from a seated position up onto my commode, because I ended up bringing my commode this time, I'm pretty sure. And yeah, that happened there. And thank you, nurses, for not taking me to the bathroom. Love y'all. I know you're busy, but like, I have to pee. Maybe I'll save this for a different video, but I had a stalker from the psych ward at this specific hospital, and security had to get involved. I had security on speed dial on my cell phone. It was like a whole ordeal, and if you want the full detailed story about that, I can probably make a separate video on that, but I've been filming for a while now, so I don't want to make this video too much longer. So I'm gonna finish this video off with one last kind of funny story about when I finally was discharged from the hospital. I don't really remember this all too well, but my mom reminded me of this story. I'm pretty sure the reason for this was I really wanted my independence, because I was sick of getting showers from my family members. It was just like a personal thing. I didn't want people to stare at me naked anymore in the shower, and it just made me feel vulnerable. I wanted to be independent, whatever. So this one time, my mom was at work. She already had a hard time with me. She had a flight of stairs in her house that I needed to get up and down for the bathroom and for the bedrooms. So she already had a hard time with leaving me alone while she was at work to climb up and down that flight of stairs. But on top of that, I decided that it would be a great idea to try and shower by myself, because I thought if I do it once, then my mom will just let me shower by myself and she won't feel the need to have to shower me for me. So anyway, I decided to get in the shower by myself while she was at work. Mind you, it was like her lunch break soon or something like that, but yep, I got in the shower and obviously couldn't reach my phone while I was in the shower. I will say I had a shower bench that went in and out of the shower, so I was able, and at this point when I was discharged, I could walk with a cane, so that's why. Obviously, it wasn't an issue so much anymore for me to get around. It wasn't as bad as the times I fell at the hospital trying to go to the bathroom, but I still wasn't in the best physical shape, so walking with a cane still, and I had a shower bench that came in and out of the shower whenever I would shower, so I had that to sit on and stabilize myself and wash my body and my hair and whatnot. So that's how I was showering. I was sitting on a bench and my mom was calling me. She was calling my phone because I hadn't answered her texts and she was getting worried. Lo and behold, my mom comes bursting through the front door, comes running up the stairs because she heard the shower on, and she was like, oh my God, she's showering by herself. What is happening? So my mom asked me, she was like, what are you doing? I thought you fell down the stairs and you were unconscious because you weren't answering my texts or my phone calls. I was so worried. What's going on? Why are you showering by yourself? This is weird. What happened? So I just told her I wanted my independence and I decided to shower by myself to prove to her that I could do it, I guess. My poor mother gave her basically a heart attack because she thought that I like died or like fell down the stairs and went unconscious or something. So that was like her worst nightmare. This was my stroke story part 2. If you guys have any more questions about my stroke having experience or my in-hospital experiences, or if you want to hear that stalker story from the second hospital I was in, then let me know. DM me on Instagram at @ShadeStrokeSurvivor. Any questions you might have that I can answer in maybe like a Q&A or something like that. Maybe I'll try to make like a either get to know me video if I don't have enough questions or something like that, because I feel like there's a lot of things that I haven't said about myself in any of my YouTube videos yet. So yeah, if you guys want though, you can help me out and prompt me with questions so that I can tell you more about myself. If not, then that's totally cool too. I don't mind. I have other video ideas. I have countless video ideas that are to come. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Oh, also, we are back to our regularly scheduled programming. I know today's a Tuesday, but we will be back on track every Thursday at noon Mountain Time. I will be posting new videos. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!